First of all, I'm Charles Mann. I'm with the IAC Small Business Alliance, which used to be the Small Business Savings, broken up into socioeconomics, and I lead the Woman-Owned Small Business Group. And as you can tell, I'm not the woman. And that comes up all the time. Why are you doing that? I said, because I have an interest. And in the business part.
Oh, darn it. Picking a lead.
And one of the things as we went through what we wanted to do with the Small Business Alliance and all of the social economics, on this women-owned small business side, I felt that working for women-owned small business, that there needed to be some clarifications. What it is, how do you go about it, what does it mean, the whole thing about set-asides. And so what we did is we reached out to the SBA, and we were connected with Ms. Sheree Mackin, who is listed as the guru on small business issues at the SBA, and that's what we have her here for. And in conversations with her, she also mentioned Ms. Tanya Smith, who deals with the international aspect, which they feel that women-owned small businesses in particular need to start taking a look at. So we invited both of them here today, not for a presentation. They will have an opening monologue, as I like to call it, and then we'll get into some discussions. And one of the things that I'll throw out before they even start is I reached out to them recently, and I talked to Kay about this earlier, about an opportunity coming out of the State Department. And everybody's been watching Hits 2. Well, when it for years, and when it came out in terms of the notifications recently, it's going to be EDWOSB. Well, that created some concern for me because I don't qualify for that. Okay, so how do we get to the ED part of set-asides, and why is that the case, and that sort of thing. So hopefully that will come up in some of the discussions. With that said, I'll sit down and now turn it over to Sheree.
Hello, as Charles had mentioned, I'm Sheree, and I'm actually with the Washington District Office, and we are housed with headquarters. We used to be on 14th Street, and now we're on 3rd Street, which has been great because I can get to pull those headquarters people over and pull them out to speak with, the House address clients. And as you know, anyone have called SBA or headquarters and all that other good stuff, they're running around. But we're going to try to end some of that and have ourselves as a contact person with any problems, any issues you may have. At the Washington District Office, I serve as Assistant District Director for Marketing and Outreach. And basically my job is to go out and talk about SBA programs from A to Z. So whether it's contracting, loans, hub zones, counseling. I know I'm missing some, but it's my job to know a little bit about everything, even if it's dealing with the SBIRs or SBA. So it goes on and on. But today I really wanted to talk about the self-certification program as it relates to women on small business. I didn't want to spend too much time on other stuff. You heard about the council, you heard about all that. So we're not really going to get into that unless you have a question about it later. But I really wanted to try, when we talk about the women-owned small business and the economic disadvantage women-owned small business, I wanted to kind of give you an outline, as you may all be familiar with. Yes, it has to be a woman-owned business, whether it's economic disadvantage, and it has to be a woman-owned business. You have to own at least 51% of the business. You have to control the day-to-day operation. Okay, there's no special certificate or anything you pretty much need. The way this program works is two parts. Most of you are on SAM. Okay. So through SAM, it allows you to get on the GLS system, which is called the General Login System. From that, SBA actually, of all programs, of all applications you've had to fill out, of everything you've had to done with SBA, this one's quite simple. So once you're on SAM, you go ahead and create your login system. You go ahead and create your username and password onto that GSL system. I'm going to give you a quick and dirty. You click down to that box that says women-owned business. You click another box if you're economic disadvantage, and you upload your paperwork. When we say paperwork, I'm talking about your financial statements. I'm talking about your certificate that says, that you get from the state. I don't know who's from Maryland. I know Maryland has one, and then DC has something else. You upload your articles. You also upload your, we talk first financial statement, your birth certificate, your passport, and it's and your tax information, and that is it, okay? If you are, and what happens with that, once that is uploaded, you will not get a certificate to say you are women-owned business. You will not get a certificate to say that you are economic disadvantaged business. What does the repository, when you upload these documents, it goes into what we call a repository. So when someone as HHS is getting in contact with you and there's a contract that you have bidded on and they need to verify that you are woman-owned or economic disadvantaged women-owned, you will give them temporary access to your repository. And that's when they'll look at those documents. So if you're going as an economic disadvantaged women-owned business, your total assets cannot exceed $6 million. Your net worth cannot exceed $750,000. That's taking out your primary residence. That takes out your the value of your business. Okay, and that's the only. And your average income cannot exceed $350,000 over the last 3 years. And that's what really, when I talk about that, that is what qualifies you as an economic disadvantaged women-owned small business. But there are contracts that are set aside for women-owned business. So even though if you don't meet those, even if you fall above that and you're not following your economic disadvantaged business, you still will qualify as a woman-owned business. Now SBA is telling the federal agency, if there's a contract out here to be set aside, if you know that there are 2 or more women business that can perform the same thing we do at 8A, that can perform those duties, that contract can be set aside for 8A. And what we try to, and I understand it's a lot of paperwork, but as you see some of that information when some of the federal agencies are submitting things for requests for information, that is the time to really sometimes put your information out there so they know that there are women-owned business in this field. Now, right now, we have about 217 NAT codes that's set aside, because you have to fall within that NAT code as far as what's being set aside. There's about 217 NAT codes that's set aside for economic disadvantaged women-owned business, and there's another 150 that's set aside for women-owned business. But it keeps growing. It keeps growing. I'm really surprised. I see accounting firms. I see employment agencies. I see things that I really thought was really women-dominated field that's in that NAT code. I don't know if I've been around for a minute, and I'm just going to say a minute, but I remember when the only thing we could get was just construction work, things of that nature. But now, whatever type of business you have, most likely it's going to fall under that NAT code. So SBA has actually done a great job in that. I will say on our scorecard, we got an A+. So it's nationwide. We asked that 5% of the government contracts be set aside for women, and we've actually done, we did about $15.4 billion for 2013, and we did not reach the 5% goal. We did 4.32%. But again, $15.4 billion, I think that's really fantastic. If you do have a relationship with some of your procurement officers, give them a call. Let them know we're out here. This is what we're doing. We also at SBA, we have procurement. Anita, I want to say PCR. We use too many initials. I can't remember. But it's we have procurement center representatives, and these representatives, they represent so many different federal agencies, and they know what a particular federal agency buys. So let's just say it's an agency you've been working with, or you're kind of interested in working with, and you know this contract is about to come out. You can give that procurement center you can give them a call and say, hey, how do you give me a little bit more about this agency. I understand that falls under you. What type of contracts do they actually do? This is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking to do. And maybe at some point, they do have a lot of agency, but maybe at some point, they can be your voice. So we have some people that in headquarters that you know something is coming up that maybe, we've had, Charles and I talked about Francine, she works up in headquarters, and we were talking about something that we were looking at, and I gave her name because sometimes, Francine Morris used to work in the district office, and unfortunately now started headquarters. But she was one of those people that would get on the phone and say, hey, this is out here. We want you to set this aside for a woman-owned business. So as you're looking at the forecast and things of that nature that you see is coming up, have that conversation with your with the federal procurement system. Yes, have that conversation with them. Yes.
Where will we find who our procurement center rep would be and the number? Is it on the SBA website?
It's on the SBA website. I will make sure you have my card. If you email me, I'll send you that link so you're not. I used to say SBA had the greatest webpage. I used to say that. I don't know if it changed with each administration, but the only way you would really be able to find an SBA website, you would have to put it in the search engine.
Okay.
Because it is not easy to find.
I'll get your card.
Yes, but I think most things on SBA webpage is not easy to find.
And there are 6 procurement center representatives for this particular area.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, one of the best ones, she retired.
Oh.
But we still have some really good ones who can help you. One of the things I like about the PCRs is that they really put effort into making sure that the small businesses get the contracts. And if you really feel certain you can do it, they'll go out on the limb. And that's important, because
Yeah,
you
it
need
is.
that advocate that's on the inside, that advocate who knows how to work with the agency and who's not afraid to tell an agency. And one of the things SBA can do is if an agency says, well, I'm not going to do that, we can actually stop that procurement opportunity from going out to be put out to bid. If we feel that strongly that we have 2 women-owned businesses who can do this, and we need to put this out for them, and the agency says no, we'll say, well, you can't put this out. We do have that authority. We don't have a lot of authority in the area, but this is one of the authorities we do have. So you know these people who are in the field as our PCR, they have that authority. And the agencies recognize they can stop, they can, even if they are representing DOD. I know of huge contracts that were stopped because DOD refused to put them out to bid for small businesses in a certain area. I mean, and we know how big DOD is.
Yeah.
And little SBA will take them on.
Right.
So just know the PCRs are there to really help you.
Great, another thing that.
Wonderful.
When you upload the documents to the GLS,
Yes.
should you just redo that every year with the new
Every year you
information?
have to, not all the documents, every year you have to submit a new personal financial statement. Just to make sure you haven't went over that threshold. And you should receive an email from SBA saying, hey, it's about that time, you need to go in and, you haven't received it.
No, I put it in a long time ago and never got an email about that, so. Okay,
And since it's a self-certification program, we go in and upload the document.
And
So
that's-
we assume that you're certified.
Just sort of hope
Well,
for the
let me
best,
just-
or does somebody actually go through?
Well, what happens is, what happens, well, 2 things. On our, you heard of the Dynamic Small Business Data Service? Well, to check it, you, for yourself, you can put in your DUNS number. And then it'll show your certification, so whether you're certified as a women-owned or economic disadvantage or 8A or hub zone or minority-owned business, it shows up there. Now, they are third-party certifications that will give you a certificate. Now, I say that, and they are sponsored by SBA. What I'll say is that is great if you're looking for commercial, if you're looking to tap into some of that commercial market, because on the commercial side, they want you to have that certificate to say that you are a women-owned business. On the federal side, you can be self-certified. Most of the third parties will not certify you as an economic disadvantaged business. So if you do qualify for economic women-owned small business, you need to go ahead and upload the documents that have your self-certification as an economic disadvantaged women-owned business. And keep in mind, they're not, and we're talking about SBA, there's a different set of NAT codes for women-owned small business, and there's a different set of NAT codes for economic disadvantaged women-owned business, and that is on the webpage. I say again, do a search. Now, if a federal agency, and I got this call recently and I had to refer to a PCR, if a federal agency say, we need your, mostly the federal agency is familiar with the program and they know how it works in the repository and things of that nature, but every now and then you will get someone new and they will ask you for a certificate. And you can tell them, I don't have a certificate, it's self-certified. If they give you a hard way to go, please give me that person that, call me, give me that person's name, their contact number and everything. And I had a particular company that called me, but they did not want to release the name to the agency that told them, I can't help you if you don't give me what I need. Because under the federal, we had another issue with the Veteran Administration alone. I don't know if anyone's a veteran, but that's another self-certified. And we had someone at the Veteran Administration asking them for, where's your certificate from SBA to state that you're a small business. So sometimes it just, people are new and they mean well, but it can just, like I said, just let us know. One of the other things that we are also trying to push is we are asking you to think about that hub zone, think about certain areas that's in the hub zone. We are trying to do more and more. Right now, the percentage, the contracted percentage for hub zone is just 3%. And we're working on it. We did about $6.2 billion in that field. But what I am finding out is that if you're looking to be a sub, some of those primes are looking for women owned and are you in the hub zone? And so that is another status that it gives you. Now I will say, as it relates to hub zone, when we think about that as called historically underutilized business zone, some of those areas may not, it's going to depend on it. 35% of your employees have to live in the hub zone. So some of those areas you may not be able to actually find the skilled employee, so you want to think about that. Generally our call centers and does well in that area, your manufacturing company does well in that area. Also your nursing assistant replacement service does well in that area. So, but you want to really think about it when you're looking into that. But also keep in mind, your employee does not have to live in that hub zone. So they may live in a rural area that's classified as a hub zone. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a distressed area. And I've had a company that's in DC, and their employees actually live in West Virginia. And right now, with all of us offering the work at home and things of that nature, so just also keep that in
So
mind.
you don't have to, where you have your business, does not have to be the hub zone where your employees are employed.
Correct.
As long as you're in a hub zone.
As long as you're in a hub zone. As you all may know, Leesburg is in the hub zone. I'm still trying to figure that out. Yes.
That's where my office is actually.
Oh, I won't talk about your own. So you're in the hub
My
zone in
company's
that
not a
area?
hub zone, no,
Oh.
but we're incorporated in Delaware, and the headquarters was in Maryland, but we recently opened an office in Leesburg, and that's where my office is, so I'm very familiar with that. It's a startup environment, actually. There's a lot of startups there through George Mason University, and they do that because it is classified as a hub zone, so these startups that are there can claim that status because that's where they're incorporated essentially.
What I find amazing, as you know, like some of that space is incubator space. And I was really amazed that SBA was qualifying incubator space as a hub zone. So I guess as long as you have a lease, that's what works. But
The clarification is, does the work have to be done in the hub zone, or does people have to live?
your primary business have to be located in the hub zone, and 35% of your employees have to be hub zone residents. But let's just say you have a couple of contracts, okay? And you have this contract that's not a hub zone contract, but you may have an employee that works on base on this other contract. So we won't count that employee in, okay? And you may have another employee that works on a different contract that's not related to that, but that employee is housed there. We won't count that employee. So that lowers the number of employees that we count. But again, they do, your employees, 35% of that will have to live in the house zone. And we'll kind of recoup some of that. But those are things that, another thing to think about, because especially, I know some of these federal agencies, like when some of our contractors, their employees are actually housed in that government agency. And that's not, so that, those employees you don't have to count. That's correct.
Okay.
So that's one of the beauties of the house zone. We talk about the regular 8A, one of our oldest programs, and that's not going anywhere no time soon. I do wish there's talk about them raising the ceiling, which I think you all are business owners, so, which I think they should, because right now with the 8A, we all know it's a 9-year program, and we understand the first 5 years is developmental, the next 4 years is transition, and as we say with that, once you graduate out that program, that is it, you cannot get back in. But the ceilings are, your personal network cannot exceed 250,000. Your total assets still cannot exceed 6 million, but your income cannot exceed 250,000. Now, I struggle with that a little bit, because I'm thinking about a business that is hiring people. They're gonna be making more than that. If I'm looking to stimulate the economy, and I'm paying people to help stimulate that economy, then I'm gonna not end up qualified. And we are taking another look at that. And so those ceilings you may see change, because again, if I'm hiring 10 people, I wanna help stimulate the economy. I think that that salary for 250,000 is a little bit low, because frankly, I do wanna get paid. But once you're in the program as it relates to 8A, then your income cannot exceed 350,000. But we are
After
definitely looking.
after you're in the program?
Yeah, after you're in the program.
So to
Yes.
get in, you have 250, but then when you're in it, you can do.
Correct.
But that's not your income for 250, it's your net worth total, and that
Well,
includes your
The
income.
net worth cannot exceed 250,000, which I think is low. I had to go back and look at it. Every time I go back and look at it and say that's not right. And your income coming in cannot exceed 250,000.
But not joined together.
No. Mm-mm. But one is personal net worth and the other one is income. So
Okay.
don't count your salary.
For
in it.
years.
So, but they're all great programs, you know. I can remember before we had the women's certification program, the only way as women of non-minority would qualify through the 8A if you were in a male-dominant field. So one of the great things of developing the other side of the certification of the women own, to allow them to really bid on more other things, like, hey, we need something separate. And SBA County Listen, and it's a program. It's still new. I don't think it's 5 years, but it's still.
It's not.
Okay, I didn't think so. Yeah, so it's still new, and like anything else, it's gonna have its growing pains. But stay on us. You know, stay on those contract officers. Stay on your representative.
I have a question about the repository. So you've updated a lot of personal information. It's PII information.
Yes.
Among other things. So I thought I heard you say that you, as a owner of that information, determine who can look at it?
Yes.
So you have some kind of password for the whole
Correct.
process?
Correct. So if you wanted to let Department of Defense look at that information, you would give them, it's something like a password that has not your password, but you would give them temporarily viewing rights. But that only lasts for like 3 days. So if they haven't done what they need, it shuts down. So it doesn't give them the right to keep going in and looking at that. So it's a short window.
Because for IRS, there's real controls, criminal controls actually for releasing information, taxpayer information. And I realize you don't have those controls, that's why I was interested in what kind of controls you put in.
It just gives you that, that agency that short window. That's all.
Thank you.
That's pretty much it.
Do you ever go in and look at the information nonetheless and then advise people, hey, you know, you're missing this? Did you ever do like SWOT?
That's a good question. I had years experience at SBA, and then I left and then I came back. So I've been back for about over a year now. And I found it was really interesting that we rolled out this program with no direction. So what I had started doing was, they would not give me a dummy account. So I could see what you all were going through and see, hey, this needs to be done and that. So what I started doing was, and most of the time I'm being host at the DC government, I do hands-on. I have you come in, bring your laptop in, and we go through that whole process. So I do the hands-on, so at that point, I'm looking at it, and I'm letting you know, this needs to be done, we need to do this, and all that. And that's been going great because I think when we rolled it out, we just thought it was so self-explanatory, and it's not. I don't know who's who. I mean, I don't know who's around from the CCR days where all your information was supposed to transfer to SAMS, and I'm quite sure not everything did not transfer over. And SAM is getting better, but generally when I host these workshops, most of the time we have trouble with SAM, but because of you all allowing me to do it, I become more familiar with it. And so that's allowed me to know when we're sitting down, oh no, this is wrong here. Sometimes the help desk is not helpful. So, well, they told me this was straight talk.
Do you ever hear of other agencies who got that permission to go in? I'm giving you DOD permission to go look at my files in GLS. Do you ever hear that somebody got denied? No, you're not a woman-owned small business, at least. I mean, do you give them a checklist?
I haven't. There's a checklist.
Okay.
Yes, there's a checklist that says.
I'm talking about the other agencies.
For the
so
other,
that if they need
yeah,
to look
they know
for these
exactly.
things.
Yes, we've had in the DC area we have not, but in headquarters we have an office that actually process the women-owned business applications. So there has been some that came through California and Florida where they were not, where the agency went in and said, wait a minute, this is not. And then, so we went back to review the information, and they were not a women-owned business. We don't go, we do not go in to check, and upstairs they do like maybe a spot check. Unfortunately, with all the cuts and everything, I said, right, we offer the buyout. And so now upstairs we have 3 employees that works in the contracting, the women-owned contracting office. And so they will grab so many cases to just do a spot check. But if they get a call from the agency to say, hey, this person is not, then we'll go through that process. And like I said, in the DMV area, we have not had that problem, but it has been happening in other states.
What about the, I'm sorry.
Oh, so I was just gonna ask, one of the things that you've requested is birth certificate, what if you don't have one? I mean, I come from a country, oh, it's either or.
I was gonna ask about sole source opportunity, and 8A has the sole source opportunity. Is that similar with women companies, or how does it work?
You can, it can be a prime or you can be a subcontract. It can be set aside as a prime or a subcontractor. So it's and I will say,
What about like sole source,
You can
like?
do the sole source for
Are you sure?
Yes.
I thought that there was just a bill on the bill right now to do that.
To stop.
Yeah,
No.
no,
do it
No.
legally.
to actually make it a
Well, I
sole
don't think-
source.
Yeah.
You can't sole source WOSB right now.
Yeah, right.
And it was sole source
Okay.
in the past.
So if the government has an interest in the product or service that we have, we can suggest that they can do a sole source as a sole source? Because I know 8A.
yeah, I'm not sure, but I have to check. But you mentioned that they had it up on the hill. I just know about an 8A can be.
Yeah,
And I
8A.
know.
Yeah, I don't think woman-owned is yet. I think it's
Yeah.
on, it's being discussed, but I
I
don't
thought
think
it
it's
was
yet.
part of the current DOD appropriations
It is,
bill.
Okay.
which was gonna
Yeah.
be one of my questions, because the House passed it under the 2015 Defense Authorization Act, and it's with the Senate, and that was one of my questions, whether or not you all knew, and how your office works with Congress or the Office of Federal Procurement on the legislation that's coming through and how that gets disseminated out, or if it does.
And it does, as Tony was saying, she just did one, she's done one with 8A and women owned, but it may be because it had the 8A piece to it.
It's
It
the
probably
8A.
was.
Yeah.
She was a woman, she won under the woman-owned PDA small business.
That's what it was.
That's what they had the 8A piece.
And John Sharrock and them, they do that whole, when they, the policy and the legislation, so
Yeah.
that's still handled in our office.
Unfortunately, the In the 8A office, the Government Contracting and Business Development Office, unfortunately, they lost all their institutional knowledge. 3 of their top people who were responsible for policy, business development, and the 8A all retired a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
John Shiraka, who is head of GCBD, is a political appointee. So he's there probably for the next 2 years, and that's it. So, as Sheree mentioned, with this retirement, we're going to have some serious gaps in that program, because in the women's program, Edith Butler was one of the best and most knowledgeable, and she retired, and 2 others retired. So there's going to be some gaps and holes. You know, fortunately, government is still continuing to move forward, but you're not going to have those people there with institutional knowledge. So a lot of the policies is done in this shop, all of the policies for federal procurement. The person who deals with the policy is, he's the attorney who just came up here. I can see his face. But they do have a person who is handling the policy end of it. One of the attorneys is Lotta Hudson. She handles a lot of the procurement. And I cannot think of his name, it's probably crazy. But anyway, there is an office that deals with the policy end of it. So yes, we do. We write, I say we as an SBA, we're responsible for writing all the small business procurement laws that the U.S. federal government has to use. So we are that.
You're the implementer of the
Implementer,
policies and
yes.
the laws that come down.
And when it is approved, you will see something, we'll do that, the news loop, you know,
Yeah.
it comes up.
We put it out in all the
Every
media.
day.
Now we're gonna do what, they're having a new digital media, social media. They're trying to institute social media, so it'll go out on all the different Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and whatever else is out there, along with Facebook's out, it will go on there. GovLoop, and some others. So it will be put out when it comes out.
Can you remind me again that GCBD, the acronym, what that stands for?
Government Contracting and Business Development.
Okay, thank you.
This is where our office, the 8A, the women's owned businesses. This is where we have our size standards office. We have the office of, is it mentor protege, hub zones, and what's that? That's about
And it's
it.
interesting, as we talk about, since Tanya brought up the mentor protege, we only review those mentor protege agreements under 8A, but even if, as a woman-owned business, and you are free to do a, I say mentor protege, I'm thinking about joint ventures, so let me back up. The joint ventures, the joint ventures, we only review them under 8A, but you can do a joint venture as a women-owned business. We won't review them, but we want to make sure that, again, the controls are the 51%. We want to make sure if there's an employee that's in charge of that particular contract, it has to be under that women-owned business person. So we want to, I want to say, give me 1 minute. But we want to make sure that, I figured I was missing something. I know we won't, the project manager should be an employee of the economic disadvantaged business or the women-owned small business person. And so it's pretty much, as long as it falls under the normal standard, but you can go at the contract as a joint venture. Just wanted to let you know that.
I have a question going back to the NACS codes. The NACS codes for the economically disadvantaged women-owned small business are all the 5415s, which is where all the IT stuff is. So if there's a set aside for IT in the IT NACS codes for women-owned, it can only be in the economically disadvantaged. Is that correct? Or do I have an option? I know we always like to propose another NACS code, but there isn't another one that covers IT. So if I'm trying to to widen the thing so that I can play on set-asides. I don't have anywhere to go as a woman-owned business. And I see that as a disadvantage to me. And in this area, a lot of the IT firms are woman-owned, would like to play in that NACS code and can't. What options do I have other than teaming?
And unfortunately, they're really sticking a rule to that NAC code. You have to fall in that NAC code. It is being, there's
What's
a
the
new
next,
list.
what's the NIC code?
5415, and then there's 19, and then the 3 and 4 before that. They're all,
11, 12, and 13.
511,
Right.
519.
right, but they're all set aside for the ED.
But they have, and I don't, it's coming out, they do have a new listing of NAC codes that has been added. And I don't have the listing yet, it hasn't hit, as far as I know, it's been approved, but it has not come down to the districts yet. And when that does come out, I'll send that to Casey. So that should be coming out soon, and hopefully those NAC codes will be on there. We're having a hard time trying to, because it goes through so many roles, like we can't say, hey, can you put this NAC code up on there? Can you put that? But what we did have someone go up in the hill and said, these are several other NAC codes where we're lacking, and we want to include that as a women-owned business. So when that comes out, I'll definitely get it to Casey, and hopefully those NAC codes are on there. But they, when I first started this, we only had 82 NAC codes. So it's just steady growing.
So
you know, but
evolving.
yes, exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, I remember the attorney, his name was John Klein. He's the one that deals with all the regulations, dealing in women-owned, GCVD, etc.
Well, I wanted Tanya to talk about a little bit about the international trade, because we have a great international trade program, and we don't, many people, what I find out is that it's a field that most people are afraid of. And I know sometimes on the commercial side, you don't have, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think you have more protection in dealing with other markets when you're going through federal contracting than you have when you're not. So I want Tony to come in and talk about it, because we always, like USAID and a couple of companies, they're always looking for businesses that are interested in international trade, and they actually hold your hand on some of those contracts. And you said that you all want to come about it, so.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya. See? Usually, when we speak, since this is straight talk, we go, all right, I'll give you 3 seconds to tell me how many letters are in the word international. 12, okay? Usually we have a check that we show you, say, I'll give you this $20 check if you don't tell me. And then we say at SBA, because SBA is so short, we shorten it to global. And my job in the Office of International Trade is I'm the director of our International Business Program, but I'm also the director of, what's it called, Managing Director for Africa, the Middle East, and Turkey. And what I'm supposed to do is help to find markets for our small businesses to go into. And I do it by 2 ways. I work with all the agencies that deal in international, state, commerce, AID, MCC, I shouldn't use acronyms, Agency for International Development, Millennium Challenge Corporation, Overseas Private Investment Corp, State Department, Trade Development Agency, and etc. These are all the agencies that come together to help formulate our foreign policy in other countries. I focus on Africa as a continent, which is sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East and North Africa portion. I also try to promote trade in these areas, but my information about these areas, of course, isn't coming from SBA, it's coming from state or USAID or Commerce, or whoever, because they're the ones who generate the information, especially between state and commerce, since they have the embassies. When President Obama came into office, he initiated the National Export Initiative. Have any of you all heard about it? Really? Oh gosh, that's so terrible. It was for small businesses, and the goal was to double the number of businesses overall that are exporting, but in particular, to double the number of small businesses exporting. currently, we had 250,000 small businesses exporting. Now we're up to like 289,000, 300,000 small business exporting. Normally, the small business export to one market. The safest markets, of course, are Canada, which is our biggest export partner because it's very easy, and Mexico. And, you know, of course, I promote trade no matter where it is, but in particular, I'll promote trade to Africa and to the Middle East. And that's because there are opportunities. The statistics say 97% of the purchasing power is outside of the United States, which is true, but you have to be careful because it's not easy, you know, and it can be exciting, but it's not always as easy as it said. I am detailed. I am in headquarters, by the way, and I'm having the opportunity of being detailed to work with Sheree and others in our district office because I love the mission of the district office because they get to touch companies like you all. And in headquarters, we do the policy. You know, I get to be on the interagency committee for this or that. And if I have, you know, information about companies or for companies, I take it to the interagency, which they don't have that access to companies. They're just talking from, you know, what they do is from the top down. But our job, getting back to what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to promote export. And the Office of International Trade, most people don't know we exist at SBA, first of all. And I find it sad that we're never mentioned. We're not some anomaly, we're not some stepchild, but we're treated that way sometimes. But what we do is really interesting and is really good for small business. I've had the opportunity to have projects abroad, which is not the norm for our office. And I've had the opportunity to travel like so many of the staff in my office. And when we go abroad, we see the opportunities. I've taken one trade mission to South Africa. I've worked on over 40 trade missions since I've been at SBA. We do roundtable discussions. We work with the banks because it's very important to be able to finance a deal. We work with Exim Bank in particular because they can do deals on both sides. We have a loan program to be able to support any of your transactions. Under the National Export Initiative, we have trained over 500 of the Small Business Development Center counselors to be able to talk to small business about exporting. We've created online tools. We have the Export Business Planner, which is online. We have webinars that we host, and we have them copied. They're also online. We have 19 people who are in the field who are part of the U.S. Export Assistance Centers who are there to help you. We are co-partnered with Department of Commerce everywhere, but in some cases it's USDA, Foreign Agricultural Service, or it's USAID. It depends on the region that you're in the U.S. But we're partnered so that we can bring the information and the help for you if you're interested in exporting. As I said, I promote Africa again. And I know with this Ebola scare, everyone looks at me like, well, really? But let me tell you, I see it. I've been in Nigeria. They had some kind of uprising. I walked right through it, didn't realize it was going on. My mother calls me on the phone, said, "This is on TV." I was like, "Really?" I had no idea. I was working on a project. We were helping the Nigerians set up business information centers. The reason we do the projects is we feel if we help their small businesses to develop, you will have, our U.S. businesses will have partners, and they will feel more comfortable because we will have been there, have set up. There's some reference for you. Well, Nigeria especially, so it's a little different, but I have walked through skirmishes. I was in Tunisia when the Arab Spring started, you know, and it was a delegate. I had a project in the Middle East, and we were going to meet with the Tunisians, and we concluded a wonderful deal. And I kept noticing the taxi driver kept driving a longer way. I was going all these unusual ways. And then I looked at the paper and I was like, oh, someone said it was on fire today. And then, you know, being American, being part of the USG, you're protected. We had no idea until we went downtown and saw what was going on, but to us, it didn't look like anything than people out, just people out and talking. The biggest difference was that people were talking more free. I had been there maybe a few months before and no one was saying anything. Coming back there, they would say, you have it so easy in America. It's so wonderful in America, and our dictator is horrible. I mean, it was such a difference. But the interesting thing about all these travels is that they still want to talk about business. How can I meet your small business? That's the next thing they would say. I'm walking through a skirmish, or it was a team of us driving through a skirmish in there, and we're in a car with some members of the chamber, and they're like, well, how can we meet your businesses? We really want to do business in the U.S. And I'm thinking, wow. Thinking hopefully nothing comes through, but that's the interesting thing. I was in Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, UAE, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, so many other places, Morocco. I always get the question, how can we connect with your small businesses? And guess what, ladies? It's always women who are most. And these women are, no offense, the women are really eager to do business with U.S. company, and they're, like you, have different types of business. And for Arab world, it's unusual, but I met so many women who had their own architectural firms, they had their own engineering, construction, and they had some wonderful stories, being women in an Arab world. Really great stories. But there is an interest in U.S. businesses going abroad. I was in Oman. It was in about this time of the year when they had rains in the Middle East. So I got in, it was pouring rain. You couldn't even see it was coming down so hard. The next day we got up, we were going out to where Cisco had a incubator. We couldn't go because the road had totally washed away. So I was like, well, who built your road? Well, the Chinese had built the road. Everything the Chinese had done that day was wiped away. The roads, buildings collapsed. It was horrible, really. But on the same end, one of the things that the Minister of Industry said is if we had had U.S. companies, this would happen. I said, no, it wouldn't have, because here we have standards, we have procedures. The most important thing is they recognize the quality that U.S. companies bring when they go overseas. Every country I have been in, it's always, where are your businesses? We want to meet your businesses. We want to do business with them. And it's interesting because some say, I've sent emails. I said, well, did you send an email and you think it may have gotten deleted? So on this side, we say, have you ever gotten an email in broken English? Sometimes you're like, no, this is not real. You know, actually, those are companies, some of these may be companies reaching out to you. And if you're not sure, you can even contact the embassies here, or you can even go to Department of Commerce, send it over to our embassy and say, is this legitimate? And you'll find more times than not, these are legitimate requests. They have gone online and found your website and really are interested in doing business with you. You know, SBA, we have a whole lot of programs and services that we have tried to have to help you. We also have a program with DC government. It's called the STEP program, the State Trade Export Program. What it is we give a grant to the DC government, and what they will do is give out grants for you to participate in a trade show or a trade mission, or even to work with you if you need business cards in another language, or if you need paid tariffs or taxes. They have this funding that they use, that they get from SBA to help you with going into exporting. The best way to go into exporting, since you're all in the DC area, is look at the embassies. Recently, We had the Africa Infrastructure Conference. It was last week. It's a big deal. You have all the major corporations from the US there. That's another thing. They're all over the world, the major corporations. They have subcontracting opportunities. If they have a US government contract, they have to look at our US businesses even abroad for contracts. Sometimes you could be working with them, don't realize some of the work you're doing is going overseas. For you, it counts as an export. For me, it counts as an export. But your work is going overseas and you may not even know it. But if you want to export safely, look at what some of these large corporations are doing. Look at some of the trade organizations that are here in DC. I mentioned the infrastructure conference is put on by the Corporate Council in Africa. The Corporate Council in Africa is an organization. All of their members are large corporations that do business all over mostly all over the world, because it's all the oil companies, the medical companies. They're getting a lot of biotech and agricultural companies. But a lot of these organizations host events in this area. You should try and come to some. Some of them can be costly, and I would say no. But sometimes someone like an SBA will feature them, will have them speak at a round table. But the opportunities for you are there, and I can say it because I've been there. I'm not saying it on top of my head. And again, SBA is there to support you whatever it is you want to do. We have the financing. We partner with the agencies. If you have a problem, we will come and step in and help you with the problem. Commerce has an ombudsman. Commerce has advocacy. SBA, you have the Office of International Trade, which is the office that I work in. You have our U.S. Export Assistance Centers, and we also work closely with our Small Business Development Centers and our we're going to start training our Women Business Center counselors to be able to talk more about international opportunities. So that's new. I'm in the district office to look at federal opportunities. I was in Qatar, and I saw the opportunities for U.S. businesses. They have the World Cup in 2022, and they aren't ready. And we were trying to work with them to set up a procurement system so U.S. companies, unfortunately, have funding right now. But the Qataris have been here. It's a road show coming here at the end of the month. It's Algeria. Now, I know it's a little shaky over there, but it's good to just check it out. It's free. The U.S. Arab Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is having a road show where they're bringing the CEOs of large companies, U.S. and from Algeria, who are looking for U.S. companies to work with. Everyone wants to work with U.S. companies. They just don't know how to find you. They don't know who to go through to get to you. But October 29th and 30th, yeah, it was $22 million in contract. And
That's the U.S. Arab Chamber.
the U.S. Arab Chamber of Commerce, David Hamud is the president. It's one of the things that our district office is going to hopefully sign an agreement with them, because the Saudis had a huge conference in Atlanta. They wanted U.S. companies to come and help them with building of the infrastructure within Saudi Arabia. We've had, I'm thinking of some of the best, Oman had a road show. Oman is a wonderful place to work too. They have a program whereby 2025, they're building up Oman. They already have a solid infrastructure in Oman as well, but their sultan wants to improve the infrastructure even more. And they're big in IT, agriculture, biotech, education is real big, medical supplies, clinics, educational tools and supplies. Water is really big in the Middle East, anything in that industry of energy, they're big. So you have these organizations, you have these countries. You should sometimes just check them out when you're online to see what's there. You can go online to, it used to be export.gov, but it's trade.gov, which is a Department of Commerce site, and it's usabusiness.gov, which is managed by SBA. And on these sites, you'll get information about trade, how to trade. I've actually bought some information about Take Your Company Global. I know it's a process to go international, but I suggest if you're interested, check out Department of Commerce has a Gold Key program where they will help set up business meetings for you wherever overseas. They are constantly running trade missions. There are huge trade shows that they have. I would suggest just kind of checking out some local things that are not expensive or even free, because you'd be amazed at how the skills that you have in the products and services, you may be competing heavily, and you go over there and you may be the only one. I can guarantee in some countries you'd be the only one. I can tell you a good country in Africa or Northern Africa is Tunisians. The Tunisians are wide open for American businesses to do business with them. They used to have an office here, but it closed after, 2001. But they are very eager. They were just here, and what was the main question? Where are your small businesses? We didn't have enough time to bring them together, but they're very eager. The Turks, very eager for IT companies. They're looking for companies to partner on projects that they can do jointly. You know, U.S. company representing the U.S. Sheree mentioned a Small Business Innovation and Research Technology Program. They're looking for companies who can join in the program for them, and they want U.S. companies. I can go on and on with what the needs are, but I would just suggest that you will take a look at what's international. I can get your information. I can send you out something. I'll leave you some of this information. It's the 6 steps to exporting to help you if you're interested. We also have another that says Take Your Business Global, and it kind of tells you where, you know, the support is. It gives you a list of where all of our field offices are. And it just will give you information about what to do. And I've also got some information it's on all the agencies, but it's just on financing your export if you're curious about how to do that. Right now, we have the STEP program. If you're in DC, the DC office has a program. Virginia and Maryland do not. But I'm not sure if DC covers, like if you're in Northern Virginia or you're in, was it PG or Montgomery County? Yeah, if the DC grant will cover those, because that's their region, they may. But these are some of the tools that we have out here to help you. Like I said, Commerce has a good program, and we're partnered with all of the agencies to help in any way that we can. So I hope you will just consider. You don't have to look at Africa per se, but let me tell you something, no matter what conflict is anywhere in the world, the Europeans, the Chinese, especially the Chinese, they are all there on the ground making money. As no country I've been in that I don't see the British, the Dutch, the Germans, and the Chinese, and the Portuguese. They are there doing the business. We're not. We need to change our mindset. I'm not saying go into areas of conflict, but really kind of think about doing business elsewhere. Because other countries are there and their businesses are thriving. Ours could thrive and ours would be a lot more accepted because these countries really want our business.
A couple of things. First of all, I would like for you to consider the IAC Small Business Alliance is now a resource for you to reach out.
Oh, thank
And
you.
we have however many small businesses, mainly around IT, but a great resource for small businesses that would love to hear more about this, and a resource for some of these organizations and countries that are coming here who want to meet with our company.
I have one. Well, I have the Algerians who are coming,
I'm not sure what you said.
29th of this month. It's part of the motion.
Well, please,
Well, we need businesses to meet with.
let's talk about how we can do that, because I'm
Okay.
sure that there are people in the organization who want to be a part of that. The other thing is, my company does a lot of work with USAID. And part of USAID projects, and I deal with sustainability, meaning we have to have relationships with companies in other countries. We can't afford to do travel to a country on speculation. If I have a project that's coming up that say is in whatever country it is, and I need to have sustainability partners in that country.
Right.
Can I reach out to you to see if you can help?
Yeah. That's with the financing, like, of course you can take out a loan. SBA, I'll just say SBA has three. It's our international trade loan, it's our export express loan, which is for deals in hand. International trade loans for manufacturing or for setting up a warehouse here. And then we have our export express loan, which is a loan to do some of the things you're saying. They're processed in 3 days, they're for smaller amounts. Say you just need enough funding so that you can go over for the travel. You can get a loan to do that. The loan is also for business. Yeah, but it allows you to do things, but they're all also working with the DC office through the STEP grant. The STEP grant is there to help small businesses who want to get into export. So there is funding through them, and it's a grant. So they have given out grants to do some of the things you said. And if you're working with AID, the TDA, Trade Development Agency, sometimes has funding to help with that. And so there is funding to assist, but, if you want to go the loan way, SBA does have the loan, which is the Export Express. Okay, but I would check in this case, if you have this with the DC office, what's it called? The acronym's getting it, but it's the DC Office of Economic Development. And they have the STEP grant coordinator. I don't know who the person is now, but they're the ones you can talk to about funding to do something, as you said, to get the funding to do the travel. Because that's what they've used the grants for. They've given the grants for people to participate in trade shows to cover the cost of being in a trade show, the cost for setting up the booths, and so on and so forth. So,
What if I want a database of companies in a particular area, say IT in country X? Do you have a database?
it's very difficult because when you're dealing with foreign countries and the companies in the countries, there are some databases, they're not as reliable as U.S. databases. And a lot of times companies don't want you to know them because of the government. That's why I said remind you. One thing when you're going abroad is you leave home some of the things here in the U.S. and realize the companies there, they're friendly once you get to meet them. But it's all about the relationship. And once they build up a relationship with you, you have this. But they're not going to necessarily put their name on the database.
They don't have the infrastructure
They don't
as
have.
well.
Yeah, some of them don't. Some of the embassies, our U.S. embassies, sometimes have data. Well, yeah, they do have databases of companies in the countries they're in. Because if you called, you said you wanted a Gold Key program, and you work with the USIAC person here, they would contact the embassy. I'll say France. So they'll contact the U.S. Embassy in France, and they would set up for you to meet with companies. They maintain a database of companies that work with the U.S. Embassy. Okay, but they may not give you those names, but they do have a database of companies within the embassies that they work with.
I have a question. So when you talk about working in other countries, and you talk a lot about exporting, so you're primarily talking about products?
Products or services.
Or services?
You have your client that's an attorney that got the contract with USAID.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a service.
Yeah, one of the things, and one thing about our loan program, it covers services as well as products. Because you can't just, let me step back. One of the points in our exporting, us promoting exporting is your knowledge is exported. So you can be a consultant in IT, but there's a government or an organization overseas that needs that information that you have. And so a lot of times, someone like a USAID, for instance, if they put out a bid for consultancy, someone who understands and knows about something IT, setting up a database, say in agriculture, I'm just making it up. If you have that expertise, that's valuable. and they will put you, I've known many people who have used their expertise, gotten contracts through AID, through Department of State, through Millennium Challenge Corporation, just because of your expertise. Agriculture, engineering, whatever, you may, and your business, you know, but your expertise is as important. In fact, in some of the countries, they rather have your expertise than a product. They value that more than anything. And there are those types of contracts being put out. One of the things I wanted to do, and one of the reasons I'm with the district office, is to see if there's an interest of small businesses in exporting, and to find safer nets for you, like working with U.S. governments that have contracts abroad. Like AID will put out a contract, and that contract may be for them, or they could be the intermediary for a foreign government. Right now, as I said, I work with Africa. We have a big initiative for energy. There's going to be numerous contracts coming out in Eastern Africa in the energy sector. And then there'll be some others throughout all of Africa, but right now the focus is energy. There'll be some on infrastructure development, whatever goes into those next codes. So these will be coming out, I would say, by the end of the year. AID will have them, Millennium Challenge Corporation will have them, Trade Development Agency. That's a good agency to start with. If you've ever got on their website, TDA.gov, because they will put out contracts for feasibility studies. They'll put out contracts that can go as low as $5,000. It's just to do reports or some research. They have an excellent research library that you may check out that on every country. They're constantly searching for small businesses. They like to maintain, and they use SAM, but they like to create their own database to get companies for the projects they have. And they do a lot of feasibility studies for infrastructure projects, for small business development projects. They work in cooperation with MCC and Millennium Challenge Corporation, as well as state. So some of their projects are part of a larger one, and those are coming out. That much I do know, and they're going to be geared toward East Africa. So when I get the information, I'll pass it out. World Bank is constantly putting out bids, but no U.S. company goes to them because they have a very difficult website. So here, SBA is saying, you need to fix it so our businesses can see what's out there. Congress has come down on them because no U.S. companies are going out for the businesses, but we fund parts of the World Bank. So those changes will come out. As soon as I get that information, I'll send it out to you so you all can have it.
The rule that they tend to ask you to be on the preferred vendor, and you have to have 2 years of work.
We're trying to change that.
Oh, thank you, okay. Yeah.
Because-
It's very difficult to break in.
Well, recently, the noise has been made that U.S. companies, small businesses in particular, were not getting the contract. And so now Congress has said, if you want money, you got to make your website easier and make it accessible for small businesses.
Who handles that stuff at the bank? Person in terms of procurement and
They do have a procurement office, I'll get you that information. He actually spoke charade, and I put on a program in February, and we actually had him speak. And he brought a couple of opportunities with him.
Yeah, Tanya and I kind of bumped into each other. But our fiscal year ended in September. But what we did as getting to know each other, we hosted 3 international trade workshops. I wasn't familiar with the field. I know a lot of the companies I was dealing with wasn't. And then part of that, we invited 3 different agencies. One time we just had at USAID, and another time we had 3 different agencies. But they had to talk about contracts that they have available for our small business. They couldn't, not a pipe dream, not what's coming down the line. They were only invited to come if they had contracts that would be available. And which ended up being really great because not only did 200 people, and we did that in-house free.
We did it in-house. We had 220 people, 220 businesses
We did this 3 different times, so we are looking to start back up. This is October's our new year, so we're looking to do it for this year. Again, we're thinking that if it has SBA name attached to it, it will make people more comfortable about coming out and really get to hear everything. And I think that's probably why we had such a
Yeah,
huge
and we will
turnout.
only, we tell the agency, bring us only what's about to come out. I guess it takes you about 3 months to put together a proposal, 3 to 6 months. Something, so, I know it can be
I
long.
wish we had that much time.
The agency has that we have 2 to 4 weeks.
That's right.
But we're
Lucky.
trying to get them, only bring out viable policies. The other thing is I've been working with the procurement center representatives to look at opportunities that are coming out of the agencies. A lot of times, opportunities that you all could bid on are being missed because the thinking is, oh, this is foreign, this is overseas. If you can do business in the United States, you can do business overseas. It's no different, just the geographical area or environment. You know, there are some cultural differences.
You have
But
to put up with a lot. We have, my husband's family has real estate over there, and we property manage in Greece. And we do property management from here with help from people over there. Very different culture, no infrastructure, can't pay your bills online. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you have to get used to. The way they see things is differently. Someone doesn't pay their rent, they don't want to evict them. I mean, there's just a whole lot of things you have to get used to.
it's a cultural aspect.
It's cultural, but it's fun. I mean, we like it. It's just challenging. It's really challenging. When you come from here where everything is automated, I remember the first time we were in an accountant's office and we said, well, can we pay the tax bill online? And she laughed. She did that, and I said, well, can you send us the bill in the mail and we'll send a check? And she laughed again. And I said, well, how can we pay the bill from America? And she said, you have to come and go to the tax office in person. And that is how they did it. This is the first year, that was 3 years ago. This is the first year because they're developing. This is the first year that we can pay it through our bank online.
And this is why I was saying this, promoting procurements our federal government is putting out, so that if you, say you get one of our government contracts, you're going to get paid, you know the paperwork, you know everything, you're just in a different country. It's a safer way of looking at doing business overseas. And I say safer way financially, safer way.
Very exciting.
But it's
Very
very
exciting.
exciting. And one of the things I've seen, I'll tell you, one of our trade mission participants, he was an 8A company. He went to South Africa. He created, I mean, you guys are amazing. I love you. He created a program for the youth overnight. He did not sleep for the South African government. He got the contract with the South African government. And it was so interesting because he was used to writing up proposals the way we expected. And he did it that way. The South African government had never seen a U.S. proposal. He had all the finance, he had all this stuff, and they were just stunned that he could pull it all together. And, you know, the only problem he had was printing. You know, the good thing is he had his little laptop and he could show them, but they were stunned by the way he could pull it together. They were stunned that he could do it, and they could read it and follow it, but he just couldn't print.
Yeah, because you can't find a print. I mean, I was
They didn't have the Kinko's.
in Greece. I was 3 days trying to find a scanner.
So, but in the business mind, what would you say? Oh gosh, we can open up a business.
That's right.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I work for SBA, I can't do that, but I can tell someone else. And another company actually did end up opening up a business center similar to a Kinko's there. But the culture is very important to know and understand. And I'm a big proponent of saying, understand the culture of the country that you're interested in working in. Before you sign on the dotted line, understand who it is you're signing that contract with. I love different cultures. I think they're exciting. Most other cultures have been doing business far longer than American companies. You know, when you're in the Middle East, they've been doing business for centuries. Africa, the same thing. However, we do business like, okay, I want this, this, and this, I want it done like that by tomorrow. And they'll sit there and look at you and say, okay.
Yeah, that's
It won't
right.
get done. But the thing is, it's exciting, it's a challenge, but you can make money and there's another market. And once you develop the friendships, once you develop your business with them, you will have business continue. It's not easy, and I said that. But it's worth looking into. I really suggest, if nothing else, just look into it. Look into a country that has something that you're interested in doing. You know, as I said, all the countries have a need for IT. All the countries have a need for engineering. If that engineering expertise can be taken so many different ways. Army Corps of Engineers, they're on the ground in most countries. They want our small businesses to come to them. They will help train you with getting through the culture. They will help train you in understanding how to manage your business while over there. I mean, there are so many different resources out here to help the small business. And I promote SBA small businesses because I have seen what you all have done overseas. I have seen the partnerships and ventures that have been created. And I also understand how you all want to get paid, so I suggest that you look at the large corporations, the U.S. government and our procurement, and that's part of this working with PCRs. I want to get as many opportunities for international out there for you all to bid on. And so the PCR will say, oh no, we got 4 businesses to do this. We got this woman-owned business that can do that. Because once they say that, a certain portion of that procurement will have to go to a small business or women-owned small business. But it's making people aware that there are opportunities outside that you don't have to be afraid. Now, I'm not suggesting go to Liberia, Sierra Leone. You know, it's very difficult. But there are other parts of Africa where your business is good. You got Tunisia, Egypt's not good. You have Morocco. You have Botswana, which is very safe, great economy, high scores and everything. You have South Africa. You have Kenya, believe it or not, Tanzania, Ghana. You have so many other countries. You have Oman. You have Qatar. You have the Saudis. You know, I could go on. And these are places that are open for business for U.S. companies, more so than they are for the Chinese companies. So all I'm saying is look at the opportunity. I get them and hold them because I don't know where to send them. Now I know. And now I know.
Now you know.
And so I can send them out. Because at one of the meetings, I'm like, what's the point of us knowing all this if we can't get them out to the businesses? And then I get them, well, your businesses can't do this. I said, no, our businesses are awesome. They can do everything. So I just put y'all on a hook. You know,
A
but
true business developer.
that's my job. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope I haven't talked too much. But
No, very interesting.
I leave you with this information. If you're interested, please take it and you can get in touch with me.
Well, in the time check, we have about less than 5 minutes left to be here, in terms of keeping everybody on time. Are there any other questions that you may have for Sheree or Tanya? There is one that I have. John Sharaka, is that his name? Spoke at an event I attended some months ago, and he said that there's a new policy or regulation coming out or guideline coming out where 2 like socioeconomics can partner together to be a prime, but it's not a JV, it's not a CTA, and it's not a standard prime-sub relationship. But it was going to be a new thing coming out. And I haven't seen anything more about that. And I'm very interested because if 2
I'd like to
women,
know about that too.
yeah,
because
yeah.
I've heard
So
the same
2
thing.
women-owned, 2 8As, or 2 hub zones can join together as one entity.
I have not, but I will make sure I'll do 2 things for you. I'm gonna get you John's contact number. And the second thing, I also asked him about it, but I have not fully heard.
Yeah. The only reason I know is I was in the staff meeting. I'm talking about that. I'm always promoting international, so.
Thank you.
And he talked about it. Right now, it has, They're working on coming out with the announcement, but
Uh-huh.
because of the retirements that I mentioned,
Oh,
it has, it's going to come out, but it's slowed down. As I say, all of the top management in his division retired.
It should come out
It
this
should be
fiscal
come
year.
out this year.
This
Yeah,
year?
this
Okay.
year. It's just not with, probably not the timeline he originally imagined it with,
okay.
because everyone has to leave on September 3rd. So it's coming out. He talked, on his conference call he had, he said it's coming out, they're still working on it, they had to go back to some revisions. But they're going to try to get it out before the end of this year. calendar.
So I think that would be key for being able to team and go after larger opportunities instead of some that may be just relegated, That is not a CTA, not a JV, not a typical crime site.
Well, when we get the notice, we'll send it to, and then you
Yes.
can just stimulate it different ones.
With that, we're about at 1:30 and want to be conscious of everybody's time. If there are no further questions, I hope you found this worthwhile. We'll do more of them in other areas, and also pay attention to some of the other SIG, the other so 8As and the other groups that it might be of interest in those too. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming out.